On this episode, we discuss my BFFs, the NCAA. We go over Texas A&M's new favorite song, Burn Baby Burn, This Coach is Fired, and somebody took a trip to Alabama. Wake up, Mules Nation. Time to roll tide, War Eagle, and dig in. Let's go. Good day, Mules Nation. Welcome to the Sports Mules. I'm your host, as always, Eric Heiner. And however you're listening, wherever you're listening, thank you for taking time out of your day to make this show a part of it. I really do appreciate it. So I hope everybody's having a good week and preparing for Thanksgiving holiday coming up. I don't know, I do love Thanksgiving. I mean, who doesn't like Thanksgiving? All the food and mostly the desserts. But I don't know if there's anything, like I love the turkey, yeah, I love the stuffing, but I think that's like the standard. You have to have those things. Or if you're one of those people that has ham in, as well. But for me, I'm a sweets guy. I'm a dessert guy. So I love some cake, some pie. I mean, it's the real beginning of the holiday season. Lots of flavors, lots of spices. So what are you guys? Turkey, ham? What do you look forward to? I'll put a question up. What do you guys look forward to for Thanksgiving? And I also love Thanksgiving because this is kind of crunch time, right? We had the second round of the college football playoffs come out, the rankings, and I don't think it's a shock to anybody that Georgia moved up above Ohio State, but this is the time of year where these things, really it's crunch time, and there's a couple cakewalk games, especially if you're in the SEC. This is usually their unofficial bye week while still playing games. And then next week, we get the rivalries. We'll get Iron Bowl. We'll get Michigan, Ohio State, which for the playoff race will also kind of dictate a lot of things. We get the Apple Cup. We get what might be the last Civil War up in Oregon for Oregon State. Also might be the last Apple Cup for Washington State. But if you're a college football fan, it's these next couple weeks is just a great time between the rivalries and then the championship games coming up, which we'll discuss two of those a little bit later. But it's just a great time, and then the NFL is in full swing, and this is the time where the injuries start piling up, and the contenders, cream rises to the top, and the Giants fall to the ground like somebody mixed vinegar and freshly milked milk. So great time for everybody, unless you're a Giants fan. So, but yeah, it's a great time. But nobody wants to hear about me talk about nonsense and Thanksgiving, or maybe you do. I don't know. We'll find out. Damn, work pisses me off. You know what else pisses me off? The NCAA. So, in the last few weeks, and especially in the last 24, 48 hours, as we've discussed in the past, the NCAA has been dealing with, one, the Michigan situation about the Stein stealing kind of organized crime unit that Michigan had developed in order to kind of go out and scout and record and make pictures of everything and then use on the sideline for games. And as we discussed previously in a previous episode, on Sports Mules, how the NCAA and the Big Ten Conference both essentially said nothing, right? Rumors were swirling around, and every pundit on every program from sports to news was talking about what should be done and what's going on and who was doing this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, the two organizations that are essentially responsible for Michigan, the Big Ten and NCAA, said nothing. Didn't even put out a statement about how, they denounce this type of action, and yada, 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 whatever. And then in typical NCAA form, did nothing. But then when they came out, overreacted and underreacted at the same time. So they suspend him, Jim Harbaugh, head coach at Michigan, They suspend him for the rest of the regular season. But I believe he is allowed to coach in the Big Ten championship if they make it. And any postseason action, whether it's the playoffs or a bowl game, he'll be eligible again. And I think there was a fine attached to everything. And most of that really then only came up after everybody's outrage about everything that was going on. And during the whole process, Michigan went out, well, if you're going to get us in trouble, then you should get, Rutgers in trouble, and Illinois, and Purdue, and Ohio State, and my great Aunt Mary, and whoever else they could figure out, sitting in the stands who was, eating a hot dog and a beer. They wanted to throw them under the table to essentially go, well, not to say that we didn't do it or that we didn't know about it, right? Just to say, well, they do it as well, because it's hard to defend against a second grade retort to any question. Yes, I pulled her hair, but she pulled mine first. Oh, okay. Well, then both equal actions are completely cleared away, so we're good. And then also the Big Ten gets, scared because Michigan says that they're being targeted, and they feel they're being treated unfairly. And, give the old, well, we'll just leave. We'll just take our sports and leave the Big Ten. Which, no, they were never going to do that. But they just say it so they can scare the shit out of the Big Ten. So then the Big Ten just kind of takes it easy on them as well. But it's, again, shows the habit of the NCAA to do nothing, and the things that make sense, they attack, and the small things, they attack, but big things, they mostly ignore. So if you don't want to get it if you're a school, right, if you're an athletic director or a head coach of whatever kind of program in college, if you really don't want NCAA problems, just commit major violations, as long as there's not money tied to it, and you'll be fine. NCAA won't do anything to you. Now, however, if you bought a kid a free slice of pizza, or a kid showed up to a game who paid his own ticket that you didn't know about, death penalty for this program. They're coming for you. So the NCAA is just in their typical hypocrisy, and it shows more with the next case, which was JMU, which is currently 10-0. James Madison University, as we've also previously discussed, has moved up from the championship series. So what used to be one old Division I AA, they have moved up. Last year was their first year, and this year is their second year, because that's how time works. And there is a NCAA rule that says you're essentially not eligible for the postseason within your first 2 years of moving up, because, which I'm not 100% sure, safeguard because you might be struggling moving up to a new level. Which, the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. If you're struggling when you move up to the next level, then you probably weren't good enough to get to a postseason game anyway. So I don't know what the NCAA thinks they're guarding you against. Hey, you're not eligible for the postseason. You won't have to worry about it because you're probably not going to be good enough to make the postseason anyway. Okay, thanks. I really appreciate your help with absolutely nothing. But James Madison is currently 10-0, and their last two games, they do have the possibility to go 12-0 in the regular season. And they asked for a waiver from the NCAA to get around the rule change, or to not necessarily get a rule change, but to get a waiver from this rule that says, okay, clearly you guys are prepared and have done well enough and have been successful enough that, this 2-year safety net rule can be removed now, and you guys will be eligible for the postseason. But as usual, in the NCAA's grand wisdom and a bunch of the commissioners for the conference and ADs in the conference essentially said, nah, son, I disagree, and said no, they're not giving them the waiver. So a possible 12-0 James Madison University, who has already done all the hard work of preparing themselves, not just for the football season, but for their athletic department in general the last few years to build it up, to move up from where I think they were Division III in the 70s. Then they moved to Division II and to the FCS, and now they're in the FBS. So this is a school that has dedicated itself over the last basically my lifetime, 50 years, of moving up in not just academics, but in athletics, to use it as the tool that it's designed to be to help the school. And because they've been successful to this point, the NCAA, which instead of using it as a shining example of how things should be, because it makes too much sense, essentially said no. So a 12-0 James Madison is not eligible for their championship game, their conference championship game, nor if they say they won that and they were the top-ranked non-Power 5 school. Right now it's Tulane, and deservedly so. But if they were to get it, they would have had the opportunity to play in a New Year's Six bowl game, which brings in a lot of money to the school, which is great, which also gets distributed to the rest of the conference. So why the conference wouldn't want a nice influx of money, who knows? But again, right, it gives that notoriety to the school, gives that attention to the school, puts the spotlights on it, and helps the academics and the athletic department because it brings people in, it gets people interested in the sports they have, and it gets people interested in the school and the majors and everything they have going on there, which might not really have known about it, right? And then there's obviously compensation for, the head coach and the coaching staff who may have bonuses tied to conference championships, who may have bonuses tied to bowl games. So they're out of that running for those things. So NCAA and everybody else has essentially hurt the school monetarily with not allowing it to get publicity, not allowing it to get money. They have hurt the coaching staffs monetarily as well because, they may not get bonuses. And I'm sure James Madison will still do the right thing because they seem to understand the value of what they have in their facility. So I'm sure they'll do the right thing. And I'm not super concerned about a bunch of coaches who get paid a good amount of money to coach. My biggest issue, as always, lies with the student athletes who, if you're a fourth or fifth year senior and you have been a part of this program your entire career, and you were one of the people that helped move it to the FBS level, but also we're a founding member of why you were so good at the FCS level that allowed you to move up. And you get here, and this is your last game and your last opportunity ever to have that bowl game or championship or everything else that's tied to it. They have that removed to you from a bunch of suits who have probably never smelt the stink of an actual locker room in their life, but have just sat in their offices, looking at Excel spreadsheets as I look at an Excel spreadsheet. To have them dictate, these incredible young men's futures and memories because of some stupid rule that I'm not 100% sure why it's in place is ridiculous. And the biggest irony and insult probably to this entire thing is that so there is a rule inside of this rule that says James Madison is eligible to play in a postseason bowl game if there aren't enough eligible teams. So essentially, you're telling what could be, 12-0, 10-2, worst case scenario team is that you're not eligible for a bowl game unless one of these decades, centuries eligible members of this division who couldn't figure out anything were so terrible that they couldn't go 6-6. Then we'll let you guys in. You're not good enough on your own, but if enough people are crap, then we'll let you guys in. And I know they won't do it because, and nor should they. It's opportunity is opportunity. You should take it. But if I was James Madison, and if that at the end of the day that's how it works out, I'd be like, nah, I think we're okay. You can keep it. We're not supposed to be in it. We're following rules. No thanks, but no thanks. We're not good enough for you in general, but we're good enough for you to pick up your scraps and be your trash bowl game fillers, so you have enough so you can put it on TV and get your money. And like I said, they won't do it. But again, all of this between the Michigan situation and the JMU waiver denial, again, it just shows how out of touch and just wandering in the forest with a blindfold on the NCAA is when it comes to really how things work, on the court, on the field, whatever sport you are. Just they like to say that they're in control, but they're never in control. So again, our lovely not competent about anything organization, again, I know it's a shocker, but has failed the people and the organizations that they were created to support and protect. So, nice work, guys. So, Texas A&M recently has fired their, I guess we'll call him embattled, now former head football coach Jimbo Fisher, who they were paying an absorbent amount of money to begin with, and then when he wasn't being very successful on the field at the beginning of his tenure, decided to double down and give this 10-year massive guaranteed contract. I think it was for 10 years. And then proceed to just completely crap that out, fire him while still owing him $75 million, which they have to pay him. And in case you're wondering if that sounds like a lot of money, it's because it is. I think the largest buyout beforehand was $21 million to fire a coach. So, yeah, $75 million who's still owed to a gentleman who came in to Texas A&M with high hopes, right? He was at Florida State previously, won a national championship there, and Texas A&M in their forever little brother complex decided we're going to pay this man whatever he wants, and we're just going to sell our soul to the devil and have him come here, and he's going to win us a national championship. I think it was at his press conference, either initial one or his re-upped one. I think it was the initial one where they essentially gave him a plaque congratulating him on a national championship win. They just didn't have the year in there. They said they'd fill it out later. So they clearly thought from the beginning, hey, we've got the guy. He's the one. But in the preceding years, we clearly saw that he wasn't. There was nothing innovative about what he was doing. He wasn't prepared for the SEC. He went 45-25 in the years that he was at Texas A&M. 45-25. He has no division champs, no SEC championships. He has no top 10 wins, no major bowl game appearances. I know they went to the Orange Bowl in 2020, but that doesn't count because 11 teams played in the playoffs. But in every year they just looked more lost than the year before, and he was there for 6 years, and this was the best he can do. Meanwhile, again, your arch nemesis in everything, Texas, in 3 years, Steve Sarkisian has gone 22-13, has won bowl games, has top 10 wins, has the team poised in the college football playoffs, has this team prepared to join the SEC next year, where they'll get to play Texas A&M again. And again, they have come out and did what they had to do, and in 3 years at Texas, Steve Sarkisian has done far more than Jimbo Fisher did in his 6 years at Texas A&M. And I think this is another one of these issues where money is not always the solution, right? People think it's the Yankees have this problem. A lot of companies have this problem where they think just throwing money at something fixes it automatically, right? If we can't figure out a proper plan to run the athletics department, to run football, well, screw it. We'll just hire somebody and give them a lot of money, and we'll have a lot of money at our disposal. So we'll just be good because of that. And this here is a prime example of no, that's not how things work. And this sets a horrible precedent for other schools and coaches going forward. In some ways, it might end up being a good thing because it will hopefully stop these massive contracts and these massive guaranteed contracts. And again, I'm not against anybody getting paid what they deserve, but in a climate where most, right, if you're a Power 5 school or if you're a consistent top 15 Power 5 school, you've got money, you've got boosters, you've got the NIL money, you've got everything else, so you can keep yourself relevant and compete. But if you're, say, a Kansas, or your prime example, the Pac-2, Oregon State and Washington State, they don't have the support, they don't have the money, they can't make a $75 million mistake and just be like, that stinks, but whatever, and then move on their way. So to some extent, I hope it helps with that, but it also hurts because we've given these other schools in all of academia an example when athletics say, hey, we need a little bit more money for this to help with recruiting or to make repairs or to improve facilities or do whatever you're trying to do. Now we have an example of, no, we're not going to give you this money because, it's just, how do we know what it's being used for or how it's being used, or it's just a waste. They don't see the value in it because you have schools who just have cash to burn like Texas A&M, who now have to pay $75 million over the next, whatever it is, 6 years to somebody who's not even going to be coaching for them. May not even live in the state. I would, because there's no tax, but so hopefully these other ADs will look at this, and maybe this will be one of those moments to self-check and reprioritize and be better at budgets and management and contracts and know the intrinsic value of the person and the position that you're hiring and what it's for. I don't have a lot of high hopes, but it just shows that money doesn't buy everything, but you can use it wisely and get the right people and be successful. So they don't seem super stressed. There's some things that have to be made and some discussions that have to be had about what to do for this, but Texas A&M doesn't seem to be overly concerned about it, but we will see how their hiring process goes and who they get and for what price to see if they've actually learned their lesson. So I have got to spend the better part of the week in good old Alabama. I got to come down and see the other part of my my work family, and I've seen some people face to face before, but this was the first time I got to see everybody, and it was an incredible time, an incredible journey down to Montgomery, Alabama, in that area, and got just the history there, good and bad, but history is history. We have to learn from it, and I'm a total history nerd, so I loved it. And just hearing things and just research I've done on my own. It's a beautiful city. Struggles like everybody else, but we all have those issues. Back home in Easton, it's the same thing. Beautiful parts, but there's other parts that not so great. And got to be right by the part where the riverfront, where the illustrious Hat in the Sky, which I don't know if it's ever landed, and then white metal chairs have now become a part of the arsenal. Took place, so it was interesting to be around that. But just incredible time with my other half of my work family, and really getting to know them. Loved it. Great group, and I have an incredible leader. I don't want to say boss. I have an incredible leader. He is probably the best I've ever had, and I wish more people everywhere would kind of take heed of kind of how he does things and how he operates, and he really does want the best for us, and it's odd to be around those things, especially in these times, to actually be around somebody who wants the best for us personally, the best for us career-wise, and just his interactions. You can tell that it's genuine and not fake. So I'm very very honored and privileged to be a part of this group, and I just want to thank everybody if they're listening. Probably not, but if they do, thank you for welcoming me and just showing me around. Had a great time. Was a blast, and I look forward to coming back down and seeing everybody. And I mean, Southern food. I mean, you can't go wrong there. That's a win all around. So, Roll Tide, War Eagle. It was a blast. I loved it. Well, that's it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I'll put down I really want to know what's everybody's Thanksgiving favorite. I want to know. It's because I want to know what I got to look for, what to ignore, and what to ask for. So let me know. I'll put it in the comments. You can put it down there. But again, thank you guys so much. A joy, as always, to talk to everybody and talk about this stuff and get off my chest. I hope you guys enjoy it half as much as I do. And so go out, enjoy your weekends, have some fun. Hopefully the weather holds out for everybody, and then prepare ourselves for Thanksgiving Armageddon that's to come. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Dig in.